Justice, a concept so revered, so idealized, that it has become synonymous with fairness, equality, and righteousness. It's the bedrock of our legal systems, the moral compass guiding our societies. But what if I told you that justice as we know it is nothing more than a myth in today's society? In this video, we'll explore the many facets of justice, peeling back the layers to reveal the deep-rooted inequalities, biases, and systemic flaws that undermine the very concept we hold so dear. From the courtroom to the streets, and from the richest of neighborhoods to the poorest of slums, justice is not as it seems. Let's dive in. The illusion of fairness. When we think of justice, the courtroom is often the first image that comes to mind, a place where the innocent are protected and the guilty are punished. But in reality, the scales of justice are far from balanced. Let's talk about access to legal representation. In an ideal world, everyone would have equal access to a competent defense, regardless of their financial situation. But in reality, the quality of one's defense often correlates directly with their bank balance. Wealthy individuals can afford top-tier attorneys, skilled in navigating the complexities of the law, often resulting in more favorable outcomes. Meanwhile, those who cannot afford such luxuries are left with public defenders, who, despite their best efforts, are often overworked and under-resourced. The result? A system where money, not truth, often determines the outcome. And then there's the issue of wrongful convictions. Studies show that marginalized communities are disproportionately affected, with race and economic status playing a significant role in who gets convicted. This isn't justice. It's a lottery where the odds are stacked against the poor and the disadvantaged. The prison industrial complex. Now let's shift our focus to what happens after the verdict, the prison system. The United States, for example, has one of the highest incarceration rates in the world. But is this a sign of a society committed to justice, or something far more sinister? The prison industrial complex is a term used to describe the overlapping interests of government and industry that use surveillance, policing, and imprisonment as solutions to economic, social, and political problems. This complex thrives on incarceration, turning prisoners into commodities, with private prisons profiting from every inmate behind bars. This system perpetuates a cycle of imprisonment that disproportionately affects minority communities, keeping them trapped in a cycle of poverty and incarceration. The question arises, can justice truly exist in a system that profits from punishment? Moreover, the concept of rehabilitation is often overshadowed by the focus on punishment. Former inmates face significant challenges in reintegrating into society with limited job opportunities, social stigma, and the looming threat of recidivism. The system, rather than correcting wrongs, often perpetuates them. Systemic racism and justice. Systemic racism is another critical issue that shatters the illusion of justice. The deaths of individuals like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and countless others have sparked a global outcry, forcing us to confront the uncomfortable truth. Justice is not blind, and it never has been. From the era of segregation to the present day, racial disparities in the justice system have been stark. Black individuals are disproportionately stopped, searched, arrested, and sentenced compared to their white counterparts. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a broader pattern of systemic injustice. Take, for example, sentencing disparities. Studies have shown that Black individuals often receive harsher sentences than white individuals for the same crimes. The war on drugs is a prime example. Despite similar rates of drug use, Black people are far more likely to be incarcerated for drug-related offenses. So what does this mean for justice? It means that the very systems designed to protect and serve are failing a significant portion of the population. Justice cannot be achieved when the system itself is biased and unequal. The influence of power and politics. Justice is also deeply entwined with power and politics. Those in positions of power often have the ability to shape laws and policies in ways that serve their interests rather than the interests of the people. Consider the influence of lobbying. Corporations and special interest groups spend billions of dollars each year to sway lawmakers and influence legislation. This often results in laws that favor the wealthy and powerful, while the needs of the average citizen are sidelined. Even within the judicial system, power dynamics play a crucial role. Judges, who are supposed to be impartial arbiters of justice, can be influenced by political pressures, public opinion, and personal biases. High-profile cases, especially those involving powerful individuals or entities, often highlight the disparity in how justice is administered. When justice is influenced by power and politics, it ceases to be about right or wrong. Instead, it becomes a tool for maintaining the status quo, protecting the interests of those in power, and perpetuating inequalities. The global perspective on justice. The concept of justice is not limited to any one country. It's a global issue. Around the world, justice systems vary widely, but many share common flaws that undermine the ideal of true justice. In authoritarian regimes, justice is often wielded as a weapon against dissent. Political prisoners, show trials, and state-sanctioned violence are stark reminders that justice in these contexts is often nothing more than a facade. Even in democratic societies where the rule of law is ostensibly upheld, justice can still be elusive. International courts and human rights organizations often struggle to hold powerful nations and leaders accountable for their actions. The global stage is rife with examples of double standards and selective justice. When we look at international conflicts and crimes against humanity, the quest for justice becomes even more complex. The disparities in how different nations are treated, the influence of global politics, and the often slow and cumbersome nature of international justice systems all contribute to the notion that justice is a myth on the global stage. The role of the media in shaping perceptions of justice. In the modern age, media plays a crucial role in shaping our perceptions of justice. From news outlets to social media platforms, the way information is presented can significantly influence public opinion and, by extension, the course of justice. High-profile cases are often tried in the court of public opinion long before they reach a courtroom. Media coverage can sway public perception, creating narratives that may or may not align with the truth. Sensationalism, bias, and selective reporting all contribute to a distorted view of justice. Consider how the same case can be portrayed differently depending on the outlet. One channel might focus on the victim's suffering, painting the accused as guilty before a verdict is even reached, while another might emphasize the accused's rights, portraying them as a victim of an unjust system. This manipulation of narrative not only affects public opinion but can also put pressure on judges, juries, and attorneys, potentially influencing the outcome of trials. Social media has also become a powerful tool in shaping perceptions of justice. Hashtags and viral campaigns can bring attention to cases that might otherwise be overlooked, rallying public support and sometimes even leading to real-world legal consequences. However, the speed and reach of social media can also lead to the spread of misinformation, with complex legal matters reduced to simple, often misleading sound bites. The media's influence on justice is a double-edged sword. While it can shine a light on injustices that need to be addressed, it can also distort the truth, creating an environment where the pursuit of justice is clouded by external pressures and public opinion. In this sense, the media can both uphold and undermine the very concept of justice. The myth of justice in economic inequality. Another dimension of the justice myth is its relationship with economic inequality. In a world where wealth distribution is starkly uneven, can we really claim to have a just society? Economic inequality affects every aspect of life, from education and healthcare to legal representation and political influence. The wealthy have access to better resources, more opportunities, and greater power, while the poor are often left to fend for themselves in a system that favors the rich. This disparity is evident in the justice system as well. As we discussed earlier, the quality of legal representation is often tied to financial resources. But beyond the courtroom, economic inequality also influences who is more likely to be criminalized. For example, crimes of desperation, like theft, are often committed by those in poverty, leading to higher incarceration rates among the economically disadvantaged. Meanwhile, white-collar crimes, often perpetrated by the wealthy, frequently result in lighter sentences or go unpunished altogether. Moreover, economic power translates to political power. Corporations and wealthy individuals can influence legislation through lobbying and campaign contributions, ensuring that laws and regulations are shaped in their favor. This creates a vicious cycle where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, all under the guise of a just legal and economic system. True justice cannot exist in a society where economic inequality is so deeply entrenched. Until we address the root causes of this disparity, justice will remain an unattainable ideal, more myth than reality. Environmental justice and its discontents. Justice isn't just about human interactions. It extends to our environment as well. Environmental justice is a growing movement that seeks to address the inequities that exist in the way environmental benefits and burdens are distributed. Environmental justice issues often intersect with economic and racial inequalities. Low-income communities and communities of color are disproportionately affected by environmental hazards, such as industrial pollution, toxic waste sites, and lack of access to clean water and air. These communities are often targeted for environmentally harmful projects because they lack the political and economic power to resist. One of the most glaring examples of environmental injustice is the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. The decision to switch the city's water supply to a cheaper, contaminated source disproportionately affected the city's predominantly Black and low-income population. Years later, many residents still do not have access to clean water, and those responsible have largely escaped accountability. This isn't just a failure of environmental policy, it's a failure of justice. Environmental justice is about more than just protecting nature. It's about ensuring that everyone, regardless of race, income, or location, has the right to a healthy environment. But until we confront the systemic inequalities that allow environmental injustices to persist, we cannot claim to have a just society. The justice system and mental health. Another critical area where the myth of justice is evident is in the treatment of individuals with mental health issues. The justice system is ill-equipped to handle the complexities of mental health, often leading to tragic and unjust outcomes. It's estimated that nearly half of all inmates in the United States have a mental health condition. Many of these individuals end up in prison not because they are inherently criminal, but because of the lack of adequate mental health care and support. Prisons have become de facto mental health facilities, but they are neither designed nor equipped to provide the care these individuals need. The criminalization of mental illness is a profound injustice. Instead of receiving treatment, individuals with mental health issues are often punished, isolated, and stigmatized. This not only exacerbates their conditions, but also leads to higher rates of recidivism, creating a cycle of imprisonment and neglect. Reforming how the justice system handles mental health is crucial for achieving true justice. This means investing in mental health care, providing alternatives to incarceration, and ensuring that individuals receive the treatment they need rather than being swept into the prison system. Until these changes are made, justice will remain a myth for those struggling with mental illness. Is true justice achievable? So, with all these flaws and failures laid bare, we must ask ourselves, can true justice ever be achieved, or is it destined to remain a myth? Throughout history, there have been moments when justice has prevailed. Landmark civil rights victories, the abolition of unjust laws, and the exoneration of the wrongfully convicted. These moments remind us that while justice may be elusive, it is not entirely out of reach. But achieving true justice requires more than just individual victories. It demands systemic change, a complete overhaul of the institutions, laws, and social structures that perpetuate inequality and injustice. This is no easy task, and it raises difficult questions. How do we dismantle systems that have been entrenched for centuries? How do we create a society where justice is truly blind and everyone is equal before the law? The answer may lie in collective action. Grassroots movements, community organizations, and individuals committed to the cause of justice are already challenging the status quo, pushing for reforms and demanding accountability. Their work is crucial in the ongoing struggle to transform justice from myth to reality. In the end, justice may be more of a journey than a destination, a continual process of striving towards fairness, equality, and truth. It's about recognizing the flaws in our systems, confronting the uncomfortable truths, and working together to create a society where justice is not just a word, but a reality experienced by all. Education and justice. Education is often hailed as the great equalizer, the tool that can level the playing field and provide everyone with an equal opportunity to succeed. But in reality, the education system itself is rife with injustices that perpetuate inequality rather than eliminate it. In many parts of the world, and especially in the United States, educational resources are distributed unevenly. Wealthier areas have well-funded schools with state-of-the-art facilities, experienced teachers, and a wealth of extracurricular opportunities. Meanwhile, schools in low-income neighborhoods often struggle with outdated materials, overcrowded classrooms, and insufficient support services. These disparities have profound consequences for students. Children in underfunded schools are more likely to drop out, less likely to pursue higher education, and often find themselves trapped in the same cycles of poverty that their education was supposed to break. This is an injustice that begins at an early age and can define a person's entire life trajectory. Standardized testing, often used as a measure of student ability and school performance, further exacerbates these inequalities. These tests are designed with certain cultural and socioeconomic biases, putting students from disadvantaged backgrounds at a further disadvantage. The result is a system that labels and sorts students in ways that often reflect their socioeconomic status more than their true potential. The injustice in education doesn't end with academic achievement. The school-to-prison pipeline is a disturbing phenomenon where disciplinary practices in schools disproportionately affect students of color, particularly Black and Latino students. These students are more likely to face harsh punishments for minor infractions, leading to suspensions, expulsions, and even arrests. This sets them on a path towards the criminal justice system, rather than a future of opportunity and success. But there is hope. Education reform efforts across the globe are working to address these disparities, focusing on equity and inclusion. Programs that provide additional resources to underfunded schools, efforts to reduce the impact of standardized testing, and initiatives that aim to dismantle the school-to-prison pipeline are all steps towards a more just education system. Justice in the workplace. The workplace is another arena where the myth of justice is evident. Despite laws designed to protect workers' rights, discrimination, wage inequality, and unsafe working conditions persist, particularly for women, minorities, and those in lower-income jobs. Wage inequality is one of the most persistent forms of injustice in the workplace. Women, on average, earn less than men for the same work, with even wider gaps for women of color. This pay disparity extends to promotions and career advancement opportunities, where biases often prevent equally qualified candidates from climbing the corporate ladder. Discrimination in hiring, promotions, and day-to-day interactions remains a significant issue. Whether it's based on race, gender, age, or disability, many workers face biases that affect their job security, their mental health, and their overall well-being. In some industries, these issues are compounded by harassment and exploitation, particularly for workers in lower income and precarious jobs. The struggle for labor rights continues to be a battleground for justice. Workers seeking to unionize and advocate for better conditions often face retaliation from employers, despite legal protections. The fight for a living wage, safe working environments, and the right to organize is ongoing, with significant resistance from powerful corporate interests. Yet, just as in other areas, progress is being made. Labor movements, both historical and contemporary, have achieved significant victories, from the 8-hour workday to anti-discrimination laws. These successes show that while justice in the workplace is hard-won, it is possible through collective action and persistent advocacy. Justice in the digital age. The digital age has brought new challenges and opportunities for justice. The internet and social media have given a voice to the voiceless, exposing injustices and mobilizing movements. But they have also introduced new forms of injustice, from cyberbullying to the digital divide. Online activism has become a powerful tool for social justice. Hashtags like #MeToo and #BlackLivesMatter have brought attention to issues that were once ignored, leading to real-world changes in laws, policies, and social attitudes. However, the online space is also rife with misinformation, trolling, and cancel culture, where individuals can be judged and condemned without due process or full understanding of the facts. Data privacy is another area where justice is being redefined. In a world where personal information is a commodity, there is a growing concern over how data is collected, used, and abused. Corporations and governments have unprecedented access to our private lives, often without our consent, leading to questions about the balance between security, privacy, and freedom. The digital divide further complicates the quest for justice in the digital age. While technology has the potential to democratize access to information and opportunities, it has also created a new form of inequality. Those without access to the internet, particularly in rural and low-income areas, are increasingly left behind, unable to participate fully in the digital economy or benefit from online education and services. Efforts to address these issues are underway, with initiatives to expand internet access, protect digital rights, and promote online literacy. The challenge is to ensure that the digital revolution benefits everyone and does not exacerbate existing inequalities. Conclusion: the path forward. Justice in its truest form is a noble ideal, one that we should all strive towards. But as we've seen, the reality is far more complex. The systems designed to deliver justice are deeply flawed, often serving the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. Yet, acknowledging these flaws is the first step towards meaningful change. History shows us that change is possible. Through persistent effort, collective action, and a commitment to the principles of fairness and equality, we can move closer to a society where justice is not just a myth, but a reality for all. It won't be easy, and the road will be long, but the pursuit of justice is a journey worth taking. In the end, justice is more than a legal concept or a societal expectation. It's a reflection of our collective humanity. As long as we continue to fight for what is right, to challenge injustices wherever they occur, and to hold ourselves and our leaders accountable, there is hope. The myth of justice can be transformed into the reality of justice, if we are willing to make it so. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the issues that matter. Join us next time as we unravel another complex issue, one that might just challenge everything you thought you knew.